On April 24, 2025, after more than a decade on Alabama's death row, James Osgood was executed by lethal injection at Holman Correctional Facility for the torture and murder of Tracy Lynn Brown in 2010, a crime he later described as fulfilling a twisted fantasy. Tracy Lynn Brown was a 42-year-old woman living in Chilton County, Alabama. On October 13, 2010, she became the victim of an unthinkable attack carried out by James Osgood and his girlfriend, Tanya Van Dyke. Investigators later stated that the couple had plotted the assault in advance, driven by violent sexual fantasies. Armed with a handgun, they entered Brown's home. There were no signs of forced entry, suggesting either deception or premeditated access. Once inside, they restrained Brown and subjected her to prolonged psychological and physical degradation. At gunpoint, she was forced into multiple non-consensual acts, described in court records as involving both penetrative and coercive physical assault. She was left defenseless, humiliated, and isolated. Afterward, as Brown remained alive, Osgood inflicted fatal injuries. He used a blade to cut her throat, then stabbed her multiple times, targeting the upper torso and neck. Autopsy reports indicated that death was neither immediate nor painless. There were signs of defensive wounds, prolonged trauma, and intentional overkill. The body remained undiscovered for 10 days. On October 23, 2010, after she failed to appear for work and could not be reached, a concerned friend entered her home and found her deceased in the bedroom. The scene was consistent with sustained violence, bloodstains, overturned furniture, and indicators of deliberate cruelty. The brutality of the scene and the ritualistic nature of the attack left investigators asking, was this a one-time fantasy acted out, or the result of a long-standing desire to kill? James Osgood's guilt was never contested. From the moment of his arrest, he offered a full confession to investigators, recounting each phase of the attack with clinical clarity. During recorded interviews, he described entering the home, restraining the victim, and the sequence of events that followed, including the moment he inflicted the fatal wounds. He admitted to cutting Tracy Brown's throat and then stabbing her multiple times, explaining that the violence was intentional, not reactive. His confession was corroborated by forensic evidence. Crime scene analysis revealed extensive blood patterns consistent with close-quarters stabbing. The body showed sharp force trauma to the neck and upper torso, as well as signs of blunt and coercive physical assault. A post-mortem exam confirmed that the cause of death was exsanguination following deep incisions and multiple stab wounds. Further supporting Osgood's statement was the physical condition of the room. Signs of a prolonged struggle, overturned furniture, and disrupted bedding. DNA recovered from the scene matched Osgood, and materials on his clothing tested positive for the victim's blood. Tanya Van Dyke, Osgood's co-defendant, independently confirmed their participation. Her testimony aligned closely with Osgood's own admission, eliminating the possibility of a coerced or fabricated confession. Prosecutors described both accounts as mutually reinforcing and exact in sequence. There was no argument over who committed the crime, nor was there ambiguity about why it happened. The case did not rely on circumstantial evidence or partial admissions. It was built on voluntary disclosure, physical evidence, and internal consistency across all investigative channels. The result was a conviction rooted not in speculation, but in confession, corroboration, and forensic certainty. In 2014, James Osgood was tried for capital murder during the commission of first-degree and first-degree abuse, charges that qualified him for the death penalty under Alabama law. The jury deliberated for just 40 minutes before returning a guilty verdict. It then unanimously recommended a death sentence, which the judge imposed. However, in 2016, the Alabama Court of Criminal Appeals overturned the sentence, not the conviction. The court found that the jury had received improper instructions during the penalty phase, requiring a new sentencing hearing. At the 2018 resentencing, Osgood waived his right to present mitigating evidence. He declined to mount a defense and told the court he wanted the process to end, stating, "I believe in an eye for an eye, a tooth for a tooth." He also expressed that he did not want the victim's family to endure another hearing. By mid-2024, Osgood had formally waived all remaining appeals. He filed documents requesting that the state proceed with his execution. In doing so, he relinquished his rights to post-conviction relief, including federal habeas review. The execution date was scheduled for April 24, 2025. His co-defendant, Tonya Van Dyke, was tried separately. In exchange for her full cooperation with law enforcement, including detailed testimony against Osgood, she avoided the death penalty. Van Dyke ultimately pleaded guilty to a reduced charge of murder and was sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole. Unlike Osgood, she did not express remorse publicly, nor did she make any statements during sentencing. Court transcripts show she did not dispute the prosecution's version of events. Her plea deal spared the state a second capital trial, but secured a permanent custodial sentence. The legal process in both cases ended without ambiguity. Osgood died by state order. Van Dyke will spend the rest of her life incarcerated. For his last meal, James Osgood requested pizza. He ate it alone in his holding cell and reportedly remained quiet throughout the day. No spiritual advisor was requested. No visitors beyond legal and medical staff. At 6 p.m., Osgood was escorted to the execution chamber at William C. Holman Correctional Facility. Witnesses said he was composed and emotionless. He made eye contact with observers, then lay back silently as the team secured him to the gurney. The state used Alabama's 3-drug lethal injection protocol, beginning with midazolam to induce unconsciousness, followed by rocuronium bromide to paralyze, and potassium chloride to stop the heart. When asked for final words, Osgood responded, "I haven't said her name since that day. Tracy, I apologize." There were no additional statements, no defiance, just a single acknowledgement. At 6:35 p.m., James Osgood was pronounced dead.